All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Brichaya. Thank you, Ginger and Mark and Denise, for organizing this. I was privileged here because I said I want to pick the first date. I am 37 weeks along with the pregnancy with the baby, so I said I want to go first before the baby comes out. Thank you for the opportunity. My objective here today is to help you understand what we did behind the scene. I mean, I'm sure most of you or all of you know about the consolidation, the merger between Southern Poly and Kennesaw State University that recently took last year. We are now in operation, and the courses finally started in under one catalog and under one banner this fall. So with a lot of changes going on, one of the major change that my area had to take on in the distance learning center at Marietta campus was to implement quality matters. I do have Zigong Lee and Buddy Sterling with me on the panelists today. These were the lead instructional designers here who worked with me in terms of the implementation of quality matters on Marietta campus. So having said that, let me give you a quick background in terms of before the consolidation. Southern Poly utilized an in-house rubric. It was pretty much based on 7 teaching principles and Bloom's taxonomy for reviewing online courses. One of the advantages that I always share with a lot of folks in terms of the implementation of the QM on this campus was the culture. We already had a culture of reviewing online courses for past 10 years. So it wasn't a huge change in terms of the faculty's perspective on review or faculty's perspective on somebody looking at their course. It was a change in terms of the process. It was a change in terms of some of the resources available to them and some of the new things that QM utilizes that we did not have in the old rubric. But the other major difference that I'll go into detail later is at Southern Poly, at this institution, before the consolidation, course review or using any in-house tool, our rubric to review the course was an option. It was recommended by our office, and it was up to the department chair or the deans or the program coordinators to have faculty submit their course for review, and we used to send it out to external reviewers to review it. So it was an option, but there were some incentives behind it for a department. So if the courses were developed under the rubric that we had, and if it meets the standards, then in that situation, the differential between the tuition differential for the online courses, that differential, some portion of the differential was given to the departments. So departments did encourage faculty to have the course submit for review, and we reviewed based on our rubric, but it wasn't a mandatory or it wasn't the policy. Moving forward with the new institution and the new U, it is mandatory that every online course has to be approved. No online course can be offered or no student can be enrolled in a course that does not meet QM standards. So that's the biggest change that faculty had to go through here, saying, well, in the past I have taught one or two courses without review, but now I have to. So that was a major change that they had to take on, but it wasn't the entire Marietta campus that had to go through that process. And if you all have any questions, you can, we can, Denise and Mark mentioned that you can put it in the chat box and I'll take it at the end. Or you can raise hand at the end and I can answer any of these questions. So the first thing that the introduction was highlighting the initiatives. That's what I wanted to do. That taking some of the steps behind the scene to make sure that when we implement the process, when we go out and work with faculty, it becomes a seamless transition. It becomes a less stressful. I mean, with the consolidation, it's never easy for anyone who has gone through consolidation or merger. So we wanted to make this seamless as possible. We wanted to make it less frustrating or stressful on faculty as possible. So we did a lot of work behind the scene. Here's a flow chart that I would take a bigger chunk. If I had to take big pieces and summarize it to you guys in terms of what are the major things we did before we rolled out quality matters on this campus. The first thing was the resource development, and I'm going to go into detail on each one of them, but I would highly recommend any institution who are looking into quality matters or who are looking into advancement of the process in terms of quality matters. Investing in the resources is very important because if your resources are not strong, like myself and the instructional designers, if we are not strong and if we are not prepared and if we don't know every little detail that faculty needs, then it becomes a difficult process for all of us. So that was resource development. The next one is the communication and collaboration with Marietta colleges. We have 3 colleges here. Total, we have 11, and out of 11, most of the engineering side is on this campus. And we had to start communicating and collaborating with them. We can't just go out and make announcements saying, hey, QM's here, let's implement, and you have to do this. So as soon as I came to know as part of the operational group, and as soon as I passed on that information to the staff, we started working with the faculty in the area and started communicating and collaborating so it doesn't become a surprise. So basically, even though we are doing the full implementation started this year, we started working and communicating last year in terms of what is coming up in upcoming years. So it was 1 year prior we even started working with faculty and talking to them in terms of the changes that's going to come in the new U. Pilot program and QM redesign and course review. This was one of the best decisions we took, one of the first steps we took that we would work with few faculty in engineering area where industrial engineering and systems engineering, where we were able to work with faculty directly. They were working with instructional designers, mostly one-on-one. This was very early on in the process to understand the pilot and to understand the process. So the piloting is one of the key points because we needed to learn. We had weakness too. We have to be honest that we did not know everything. So it was a learning process for ourselves and say, what is there that is missing in terms of QM? What do we have right now and where do we need to reach? And how can we help faculty reach that? So we needed to learn our gaps and our weaknesses and areas that needs improvement in terms of QM. So this was a good step to build, again, a resource for ourselves. The next one is the QM introduction. It's very, very basic, and I'm going to go into that in just a second. We wanted to make sure it is not a 2 days or 8 hours workshop for faculty in the beginning. We wanted to make it more digestible, and we wanted to focus on what is absolutely needed right now than a long term. So we had a very basic introduction of QM process, and I'm going to go into that workshop in detail. The next was the TADL redesign. TADL is Teaching Academy for Distance Learning. We've been offering that faculty development program at Southern Poly for the last 8 years. This is our 9th year with Kennesaw State now. We're offering, the program actually begins this Friday, and we redesigned the entire program this summer to make sure that it meets the Quality Matters standards. So everything we cover as part of this program, faculty development program, focuses on QM standards. So if faculty members are going to the program to learn, the program divided into course design, development, and delivery. So if they are designing and developing the courses, they need to understand every single standards and component in it. So the full program is based on the standards and the foundation of QM on it. So that was another initiative we took to make sure faculty had that opportunity in the new U to learn Quality Matters. And the next one is the APPQMR, which is the Applying QM rubric, which is a peer review process on Marietta campus. Right now, we don't have any peer reviewers on Marietta campus. All our reviewers are on Kennesaw site, not on Marietta. And Kennesaw State uses the Quality Matter rubric as a tool, but it has its own internal process, and I'm going to go into detail in just a second. So resource development. So the first step, as I mentioned, is preparing staff for upcoming changes. The staff needs to know, because they've been supporting the previous rubric and the previous process for so many years, that it's pretty much like, let's wipe out everything what we have and let's start learning in terms of what's new and how can we help faculty. The train the trainers was one of the important things. We had all the instructional designer, including myself, went through the various QM certifications between last year and early this year to making sure we are well prepared in terms of the tool and understand the process. Identifying local experts, it's because the institution is so large and we have more resources, which is a good thing, but it's new to us. We're still on Marietta, they're still in Kennesaw, and we had so many changes in between. We don't know everything that's available to faculty and students. So some of the things that we needed to talk to people on Kennesaw side of the campus saying, hey, what do you have in terms of tutoring, advising, or disability services, or any type of resources available to faculty or students that we can use as part of the Quality Matters training. So we started working very closely with the Distance Learning Center on Kennesaw site and some of the folks like Cyril, who actually runs workshops on QM, to help us understand before we go out and approach faculty. So we did a lot of work behind the scenes. Then identifying the gaps between the new and the old process, because all we wanted, the major objective right now, was to making sure faculty had courses developed in the past and met the standards, and they would come to us saying, well, my course met the standards, how do I go from here into QM? So we needed to understand that gap and how do we help faculty to bridge the gap. So we had to come up with the solutions and say, here's the gap, here's what you had before, this is perfect, because it's instructional design. This is perfect, but here's some missing pieces, and here's how we can help you bridge that gap. So that was a very important process that we took on to making sure understanding the gap between the old and the new process. And then, as I mentioned, that we had a systematic QM implementation plan. Let's do first thing this, second thing this, third thing this, before we start going out and saying, hey, QM is here, let's start implementing, let's push down some templates with the QM in it, and then start developing courses based on QM. So we made that systematic approach. So it's more like a long-term return on an investment that faculty slowly step into that process and adapt the process in a much more nicer fashion. As I mentioned, we did peer reviewer course, APPQMR, face-to-face facilitator certification, and I also did the online facilitator certification. So building our own knowledge, making sure we are confident and faculty trust our knowledge. So it was very important for us to go through all this to understand how other institutions are doing, how other people are doing, to come up with ideas on how we can implement on Marietta campus. The next thing is communication and collaboration. We established that line of communication last year. Even though the implementation process actually started this year, we started communicating with deans, department chairs, and online program coordinators. Keep in mind, all these programs, all these areas and colleges, they already had fully online programs. Together with after the consolidation, we have about 70 plus fully online degrees and programs and certificates. So we needed to communicate this to colleges directly and say, hey, you do have online programs, you do have courses under the programs. We're going to grandfather in all the courses that are currently reviewed and are under approved list. But if you have any new courses or any new revisions coming forward, it has to be under QM. And if you are asking faculty to develop a new course or revise an existing course, it has to be under QM. So here's the things that are changing. Here's the process that's changing. And here's one important thing is your department can't offer that course online until it's on the approved list. The student cannot be enrolled. So that's the thing that we needed to communicate with the colleges. We also constantly reminded faculty through email reminders and action taken, that we published our workshops and things of that nature early on, to making sure that let's not wait until the last minute. If the courses needs to be revised before, and it has to be on the approved list before the beginning of the the semester or the first registration, you need to act now. So we had that conversation going out to faculty. We also did regular promotion in terms of the upcoming QM workshops, and also encouraged every opportunity we had, every time faculty, this is a faculty support area, every time we had faculty come in to work in terms of instructional design or online courses or media or anything like that, we took an opportunity to help make sure instructional designers communicated directly saying, by the way, this is coming, this is changing, you should be looking out for this. So that kind of communication worked out. The pilot program, again, I mentioned that we worked with a very few faculty and some courses. They worked directly with the instructional designers. They were given the rubric. They worked together pretty much one-on-one. And then we went through the courses and then tried to find where are the places where faculty are missing. So what's the major place that faculty are missing now, and what's the area where the courses when reviewed under QM, where are the standards that's missing? So we can focus on those standards and say, okay, if we cover this during our workshops or during a session, then it's going to reach a larger audience to making sure the standards are met. So we had similarities and differences in review process. We wanted to make sure any concern areas that faculty don't or know, like we also realized same thing as resources. There were some of the resources available to students that in the faculty pilot program, during the pilot, faculty didn't know about the resources. So we wanted to make sure those resources were included as part of our workshop. So faculty has easy access, making sure those links are there when they develop the courses. And then what do we need to do as a big picture in terms of across the board change? What do we need to do in terms of the change so that everybody understands the new process? The next thing is the introduction to the user's current SPSU. We focused on the current SPSU distance learning rubric users, so moving forward, they know how to utilize the quality matters. So very basic. It was 3 hours workshops. We're offering all throughout the semester. We offered in summer. We're offering now. It's a face-to-face. Basically, the workshop addresses the standards, QM standards rubric, modifying the online course, the current online course, or development of an online course based on QM standards, and the KSU's internal course review process. Because in the past, people would fill the form, come to us, we send the course out, and that's pretty much it. Now in the new U, there is a 3-committee panel where faculty, there are 3 committees panel where the courses are submitted after the completion through QM, and there is a QM chair. There's some incentives for reviewers. There's a QM chair and 2 other reviewers. It can be a subject matter expert, somebody from the department or from another area, or an instructional designer. If it's a chair, the incentives for the chair to review an online course per course is $250. Basically, we contract the QM chair 10 courses between fall and spring. So it's total $2,500 that they have to complete. And then $150 per course for the reviewers. So there's a 3-panel committee review for a brand new online course. So faculty needs to understand that there is a committee in place. There will be reviewers. You can pick the reviewers, or Distance Learning Center can assign reviewers based on their availability. And then there is a course re-review process, which is every online course expires every 3 years. So after the 3 years, you work directly with the instructional designer in your colleges. We have designated instructional designer by college. So you work with instructional designer and a faculty member, where these 3 people together making sure that the revision, the re-review of the course is met, and it's actually done in QM standards. The next one is the title redesign. As I mentioned in the beginning, the Teaching Academy for Distance Learning is one of the initiatives that we have taken that we already had in the past. So we took that opportunity and said, we already had this program in place. Why don't we take it and then make the modification to that? So any new faculty coming in will be well prepared in terms of QM moving forward. So it has modules contain modified based on the QM standards. So everything we do rotates around QM standards in Teaching Academy. The general standards are covered, each modules and content are identified by module overview. So we focus on here's the standards and here's the module on what we are doing this week. The specific standards identified during the weekly face-to-face session. So we do have face-to-face meeting every Friday for 11 weeks. It's a pretty long program, but a lot of people get a good return because it focuses on both the design, development, and delivery. So it goes on for 11 weeks, but we focus on each one of them during that week. And then faculty members train to QM standard throughout the entire program. So the focus is, yes, we want them to learn how to design, develop, and deliver online courses, but we want to fully make sure that they understand when they submit the course for review, it meets the QM standards. So they fully understand the aspect of the standards. So modules break down into this. If you look at each module, there's a module overview, there's a checklist, there's lectures in terms of handouts or videos or interactive LOs, and then there's milestones, what they need to do. But the foundation of each module is based on teaching principles, pedagogy, best practices, and also QM course review rubric. So it becomes a foundation per module, and we cover it for the entire program. The benefits for the participants is when they leave the program, the course meets the QM standards, and they have the skills and knowledge to making sure, this was covered as part of the program. Let me include this in, so that becomes one of the standards. And then the other is the experience learning from the student's perspective, because we put faculty in each other's course so they understand what students are looking at and how QM actually helps when they design the course based on QM, how it helps from the student's perspective. So they see that from the student side. They are able to manage the concept in manageable chunks because we modularize the course, and leave as a member of a community, because when they leave, they are part of the community of the Teaching Academy for Distance Learning. So it becomes an additional resource for us. These are the people who become peer reviewer later for us. These are the people who's going to review courses for us later on. So they leave the program as a community, so they will be working together, all faculty, as a peer in the new institution beginning next year. And also they are certified to develop and teach online courses. Every faculty member has to have some sort of a certification before teaching an online course in the new U. So this gives them a permanent certification to develop and teach online courses in the new institution. APP QMR, again, it's pretty much the same as APP applying QM rubric. We're going to offer the same program as QM does, but with just a little bit of a twist here. It's an internal process where the committee or the members or the reviewers are actually paid internally, and it's a more peer-reviewed process working with the peers within the institution. It creates a pool of reviewers on both campuses. We're trying to get more faculty on this side of the campus with the QM training, courses being approved, being taught, tattle. So we're trying to build that pool here. So we do have reviewers on Marietta side of the campus, allows for reviews by subject matter expert by colleges, and gives faculty on Marietta campus to have their courses reviewed by departmental colleagues. Believe it or not, there are people who ask, do I have to send it away? Can somebody on Marietta campus review it? I think it's just a comfort they feel still. But, and I tell them, well, more and more people go through the program and more people go through the process and understand the process. There will be more faculty on this side of the campus who will soon become reviewers and colleagues in your own department. So you can have reviewers on this campus, and that has worked for us. And help faculty feel comfortable about the review process, because we definitely want them to understand what it is to review the course. So this training becomes very helpful, and we will be offering this beginning this fall. I can take the questions.
So if anyone has questions and has a mic, raise their hand, and we will try and let you speak, but you can also put a question in the chat, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen.
I know people are just getting used to this technology. We'd use Collaborate, but here Jenna Miley has a question. Denise, can you unmute her?
I do not see where she has audio.
Okay.
So, Jenna, you might just need to put it in the chat there. And if anyone else has a question while she's doing that, I'd be happy to take those. Okay, so Jenna has asked, is this required of all colleges in the system?
At Kennesaw State, you mean all colleges?
No, it's QM, I think.
Right, I think she's asking if it's required of all colleges and universities in the system.
I don't think so. I think this is more of an approach taken by Kennesaw. Thank you, Ginger. Yeah, it's a more of an internal approach taken by Kennesaw State, and especially this one was taken by us. Correct. Thank you, Ginger. It's up to each institution, and especially, I mean, even within the institution, you know, we are part of Kennesaw State, but Marietta campus decided based on faculty needs and based on the culture here, we came up with a process that works, that would work. And that would be acceptable, that faculty can easily adopt and adapt to the new process. So that's why we went with this process.
My understanding, and Ginger, you tell me if I'm understanding wrong, but my understanding is that the participating institutions can choose to participate at different levels, so that some are just using the rubric to help them as they develop their courses, and then some go through the full process of peer review and getting that QM stamp on their courses. And yes, Kennesaw is in the Board of Regents system.
You want to unmute Ginger?
Yes. Ginger, you are unmuted.
Thank you. I don't know if I've ever been muted that long. If you know me, you know the case.
Sorry.
You're exactly right, Denise, but I did want to add, for anybody who is here from an institution and you're not sure if you are a QM institution, feel free to email me at ginger.durham@usg.edu, and I can let you know. What we did a couple of years ago is our office pays the statewide fee to reduce the cost to all of our institutions. So we pay for a statewide subscription, and then each institution can become an affiliate. And I believe we're at about 18 or 19 institutions right now that are affiliates for the next fiscal year. And if you're not sure if your institution is, let me know, and I can give you the person on your campus that would have more information.
Thanks, Ginger. What other questions do you all have? And I'm going to put, Ginger, would you put your email address in the chat there? Jen is